SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
This show is brought to you by Sledge & Company Financial LLC. I'm Taylor Sledge, founder and CEO. At Sledge & Company, we help businesses and families do better with their money. Check us out on the web at sledgecompany.com. That's sledgecompany.com.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now
Hello. Good morning. Thursday morning, 22nd of January. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. Online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Spire text line, even right out of the gate. First thing in the morning is open to you. Good morning to you. 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. I'm Richard Cross. This other guy, well, he goes by the name of Lance. Lance Tolbert, that is. Hello, friend.
Good morning to a wet and rainy day. Hopefully this stuff will drop a little bit before the weekend gets here. If we get those cold temps, man, this is going to be nasty.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. All right.
I mean, we talked yesterday morning a bunch about all this weather coming and all the things you need to do to be prepared, and I think you still need to do those things. But it's looking, I think, now, this is not, you sometimes before we come on the air called me Ricardo de la Cruz.
Yeah.
This is not Ricardo de la Cruz all of a sudden as a weatherman, as a meteorologist, where I can actually look at the data and interpret it and tell you this is the educated opinion that I've got of what's going to happen. I don't know if any weathermen do that. They may just go to weatherman.com or weather.com too. I don't know. Probably not.
I use it religiously, and I'm somewhat of a weatherman.
Well, I am led to believe that the European model or the Euro model seems to be the more accurate predictive model of where these storms are going to land, and yet all of the forecasters, meteorologists, weather people are saying, hold tight before we tell you exactly. This thing's going to move. It appears yesterday that much of that front and system moved a little more to the north, and so we were looking more at some bands of freezing rain with a little sleet and maybe a little snow mixed in, as opposed to the significant ice and snow that they were predicting just 24, 36 hours earlier.
Yeah, it looks in Oxford. I was trying to make sure I wasn't dreaming or something last night, but it looked like it was going to have a couple of nights of pretty cool, like 27, 30. I think it was like Saturday night and Sunday. But during the day, it's like 60, so you're hoping that's kind of the case there,
I thought you were talking about the low temperature on Monday, which is 4.
Yeah.
Oh no, they've punched it up to 9. So yeah, this forecast has shifted a little bit. For most everybody, it's going to be Saturday before this comes in, but overnight, Friday night, throughout the day, Saturday into Sunday, good chance for some freezing rain and some ice in North Mississippi.
Yeah, it's Sunday night and Monday. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was off a day there.
I mean, we might as well just give you the forecast since we're kind of giving you the forecast. Oxford, you got cloudy skies today with a high of 53. Almost warm enough to get out on the golf course. That north wind will cool it off a little bit out of the northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Columbus, rain showers for you this morning. Overcast skies later in the day, 55 for your high. Breezy out of the northeast, about a 40% chance of rain. Hazelhurst going to be up to 58 today. Cloudy, a few showers possible. Winds light and variable. Your chance of rain today about 30%, and really not bad if you're on the coast. Chance of a shower. Past Christian, it's going to be cloudy for you with a high of 67, and winds out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. It's kind of a sampling across the state of what's going on and what this may look like.
Man, I'm in on this Euro model thing. Goodness, how cool is this? Yeah, you do the slider and drag it around. So much cooler than the one we're using, you know?
Yeah.
That is pretty radical there.
You know, it feels like we always have the north of 82, south of 82 as the dividing line on seemingly everything, especially when it gets to weather. Well, north of 82 feels like you got a great chance for the weather people seem to be using Interstate 40 as the kind of dividing line. And 40 runs from the southwest part of Tennessee, kind of running gently to the northeast. I mean, it's headed east, but slides north a little bit. So you get from Memphis to Nashville, all the way to Knoxville, if you want to keep on going that direction all the way to the East Coast. And north of I-40, total snow and sleet accumulations are expected to be over 3 inches.
Ooh.
And south of that, you're talking more freezing rain and all the other stuff.
Yeah, the stuff you don't like either, you know, the power lines and that freezing rain stuff's a nuisance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I-40, like you said, 82 seems to be a big differentiator in Mississippi, but I-40 and above is what you're saying is going to get more of the heavy stuff at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and it really has been interesting kind of watching it over the last few days because, I mean, 2 days ago, the entire state of Tennessee was going to get pounded with snow. North Mississippi was, northern Alabama was, and now it's just kind of slid up where Tennessee may be more in the, you know, the ice and the freezing rain mix as well. So regardless, this is a time where people that provide services that we need, and today and tomorrow are the day to get a nap because it may be kind of yucky for you for a couple of days. And along those lines, we are going to check in this morning with Haley Fisackerly from Entergy. What are the forecasters that work at Entergy looking at for this weekend, and what is their preparation like? We'll also do that with Spire, as Charles Watson will come by. Charles has been at Spire for a long time. He's the vice president of network operations. And so when a potential weather situation comes in, what's the ops plan for the folks at Spire to be ready to try to avoid going offline? And if you do go offline, what's the plan for quickly getting it back up? We'll talk with him about that. Also, Philip Chamblee is going to join us this morning. That'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. Philip's the executive director with the Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. Works with a lot of gas stations, a lot of oil companies. A couple of few weeks now removed from Venezuela and the extraction, the removal of Maduro from office there, Nicolas Maduro. What are the oil markets doing, and what's the outlook for oil markets in this part of the country? So we will get into that conversation with Philip Chamblee. All that on the horizon this morning. A few birthdays. Former Mississippi governor, a Democrat, interestingly enough, Ross Barnett. It was a different time. American lawyer, politician, served as governor from 1960 until 1964. I think 4 years was probably enough. Born in Standing Pine, Mississippi. Passed away in 1987. Avid, open, and loud segregationist. Sam Cooke was born in 1931. The singer and entrepreneur described as the inventor of soul music. born in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Sam Cooke. 1965, DJ Jazzy Jeff, perhaps better known as Jeff Towns. Well, I guess I should say Jeff Towns, perhaps better known as DJ Jazzy Jeff. Grammy Award-winning hip-hop DJ and music producer. Do you remember DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince?
Of course.
Of course you do. Parents don't. They just didn't understand. Yeah, the Fresh Prince was Will Smith alongside DJ Jazzy Jeff, born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here's the situation. The parents went out for a week's vacation. Left the keys to the... I won't.
It was that upbeat rap.
Mm-hmm. 1965, Diane Lane was born. American actress, The Perfect Storm, Lady Beware, Lonesome Dove. She was born in New York City. 1972, Gabriel Macht. Harvey Specter from Suits. He was born in the Bronx. And basketball player Caitlin Clark, born on this day, 24 years old in 2002. All-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I, Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Indiana Fever. Hurt a good bit since getting to the WNBA. Back with you after this.
From the Venable Glass.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
If I only had $1 for every song I sung, every time I had to play while people sat there drunk, you know I'd catch the next train back to where I live. Oh Lord, stuck in a low diaphragm.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Fidel Castro was ejected from a Winter League baseball game on this day in 1951. Why? Hitting a batter.
I thought you were going to say he lit up a cigar.
No, they didn't throw him out for that. No, he hit a batter and they tossed him from the game.
Wow.
1953, Arthur Miller's play The Crucible premiered at Martin Beck Theater on Broadway in New York City, won a Tony Award for the best play of 1953. It was based on the 1692 Salem witch trials, serving as an allegory for the anti-communist McCarthyism of the 1950s, exploring mass hysteria, religious extremism, and the destructive power of false accusations through the story of a community torn apart by accusations of witchcraft, focusing on farmer John Proctor and his wife Elizabeth. The Crucible.
I didn't know that it was actually a anti-communist McCarthyism allegory back when we had to read it as required reading. Yeah, although those many years. Good book, though.
Yeah, that might have changed the way you read it a little bit.
Yeah, I had no idea. Nobody was explaining that stuff back then.
Yeah. 1959, Buddy Holly made his last recordings inside his New York City apartment alone with an acoustic guitar. He taped 5 songs, including Peggy Sue and Crying, Waiting, Hoping, which were later embellished, overdubbed, and released posthumously by Coral Records. Glad he did that. Got a little more music from Buddy Holly. 1969... couple of guys elected to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, Roy Campanella and Stan the Man Musial. Stan the Man. It was on this day in 1973 when Justice Harry Blackmun, in a landmark decision, wrote the opinion for the Supreme Court legalizing most abortions in the case of Roe versus Wade. Writing the majority opinion, Justice Blackmun states that the criminalization of abortion does not have roots in the English common law tradition. really big deal when Donald Trump was able to appoint multiple justices during his first term as president. Really big deal. 1984, Apple's seminal ad for the new Macintosh computer, directed by Ridley Scott, loosely based on George Orwell's book 1984, played during the Super Bowl. One of the most famous commercials of all time.
Yeah, that was the crazy one, wasn't it? Kind of a little crazy.
Yeah, a little.
They were like, if I remember, it's bragging about, what was it, saving, we won't let the lights get turned out, or it's dark. We're not going to let you go into the dark ages, or something like that with technology.
Yeah. They've held up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was no overstatement there.
1989, Super Bowl 23. This is the first one that I really, really remember. Joe Robbie Stadium, or it was then Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. 49ers, Bengals. Good game. 20-16, Niners over the Bengals. Jerry Rice was the MVP. And Bill Walsh shut it down after winning his third Super Bowl as head coach. Bill Walsh said, I'm out.
Was that the Icky Shuffle time frame there? Icky Woods, remember him?
It was. Why am I trying? For some reason, I'm thinking the Icky Shuffle was a little earlier.
A little earlier, okay.
I mean, that was Boomer Esiason at quarterback. Mm-hmm. It was still Joe Montana. It was before Steve Young took over with the Niners. 2006, Kobe Bryant scored 81 points in a Lakers win, 122-104 over the Toronto Raptors. It was the second highest total of points in an NBA game in history.
Like fire everybody, For the
Trailing only Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game in 1962. And one more for you. 2010. Conan O'Brien worked his last The Tonight Show. Big controversy. Remember, Jay Leno stepped down. They handed it off to Conan O'Brien. Ratings kind of tanked. People didn't really like it, but the people that did like Coco loved Coco. And then it was weird because they kind of brought Jay Leno back, but not really. Not a great time.
Yeah, he was already settled in on the denim. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to go back to the suit, I don't think. You can't go today without mentioning one of the most significant dates in history, one of the most significant people in modern history.
Who you got?
Rasputin. He was born on this day. Obviously, he passed away December 30th, 1916. But without his crazy, running around over there, you probably don't have the Russian Revolution. And then, as you know, the Bolsheviks, everything that goes from there. What a goat, though, man. That guy was – he started out as a gangly, as they said, smelled like a goat, had a religious experience, and then became a healer, and healed Nicholas II's son from hemophilia, and really kind of embedded himself in the Russian court. And as Nicholas II had to go off to war, undermined everything. And they ended up having to, what was it? They stabbed him and poisoned him and threw him in the river Neva. That's what it took to get rid of
just
that guy.
For good measure?
Yeah, just to make sure. Oof. Yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks later the Russian Revolution starts. So not a good time in history there.
What was that, 1917?
1917.
Oh, 1917. Yeah. All right, some news headlines for you this morning. Hunter Evans and Austin Sumrall's names are at the top of a good list. 2 names familiar to foodies across Mississippi. Semifinalist for the 2026 James Beard Award for the South's Best Chef. Those were announced earlier this week. Icons out of the nation's top restaurants and bar professionals. That's what the James Beard Awards are all about. The South category covers Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Puerto Rico. Evans and Sumrall are 2 of 20 semifinalists. Finalists will be announced March 31st, and then a big soiree in Chicago in June to announce the winners. Evans has racked up numerous honors for his modern Southern French cuisine that can be found at Elvy's in the historic Bellhaven neighborhood of Jackson. He is vying for a James Beard Award for the fourth time, previously making it to the semifinal round in 23 and 25. He was a finalist in 2024. Elvy's has been named one of America's top restaurants by the New York Times. Was selected by the Bib Gourmand distinction, and that was in the Michelin Guide in 2025. And oh, by the way, Hunter Evans is the guy who is behind Mayflower Cafe in Jackson, taking over operations of that. Trained at CIA in New York, Culinary Institute, that is. And then Austin Sumrall, man, what a thing he has built on the coast. He's garnered plenty of honors for White Pillars, his restaurant in Biloxi. Semi-finalist for the James Beard Award in 2020. He was named King of American Seafood by winning the Great American Seafood Cook-Off in New Orleans in 2021. White Pillars has been added to the Michelin list of recommended restaurants in the American South. So, congratulations to both of those fellas. Some good eating going on in both Jackson and Biloxi.
And there are some great restaurants around here. I know that. Ooh. I didn't live here for 20-plus years, but when I came back, man, I've really enjoyed getting out and experiencing, and his are amazing. So, yeah.
Have you been to Elvy's?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I've probably hit most of the named ones. There's probably a few ones that I don't know of that I'm always trying to figure out. But if it's gas station chicken on a stick to white tablecloth, man, I'm in.
I got you. Have you done Mayflower Cafe since it's reopened?
Not since it's reopened, but I was a staple there and at the Elite when I lived here many years ago. Used to eat there at lunch quite a bit, both of those places.
Delta State announced yesterday a shift in class schedules for the coming days. The Cleveland campus announced all classes scheduled for after 12:15 on Thursday will transition to online instruction. So that's later today. All labs and classes with clinical rotations will be rescheduled to an online format as well. The entire campus, apart from essential services, will be closed on Friday as the potential for dangerous weather heightens in the afternoon. University officials going to meet over the weekend to assess conditions and announce plans for what Monday might look like. I mean, tip of the cap for being preemptive, and yay students for the long weekend, but man, that cold rain tomorrow may be tough on folks.
From the Seabrook FM, Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Working on the chain gang, can't you hear them saying, I'm going home one of these days. I'm going home, see my woman, whom I love so dear, but meanwhile...
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. C-Spire text line open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Somebody said, yeah, it was Ickey Woods, Super Bowl 23. I just wasn't 100% sure if that was the right timeline, but it is. You need to fix your radio output. We can barely hear you. We have to turn the volume all the way up.
I worked on it. Sorry about that.
Great.
I didn't notice.
Yeah. Forecast in Oxford is 2 inches or so of freezing rain. That is major outages for weeks. If Oxford gets 2 inches of freezing rain accumulation, that is no bueno. Way worse than a foot of snow or 2 feet of snow. Way worse. Because freezing rain is that rain that piles up on the limbs of those pine trees and then causes them to snap, and they fall on power lines and they go down, and it just happens all over the place, and it's a bad deal if that happens. So, pray for the opposite. Pray for something other than that outcome. The Attorney General's office has announced sentencing for a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Attorney General Lynn Fitch announcing the sentencing of a Brookhaven man in a nearly $1 million wire fraud case that targeted Mississippi investors. David Tyler Castillo was sentenced to 40 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to one count of wire fraud. Judge David Bramlett handed down the sentence about a week and a half ago. Also includes 3 years of supervised release after his imprisonment. Got to pay restitution, a little over $900,000. Carried out a scheme in which he solicited money from investors under false pretenses and then misappropriated those funds for his own use. Sometimes called a Ponzi scheme. Although Ponzi scheme means you've got to pay some money back to investors and like you just keep the hamster wheel turning. But you're doing some pretty significant skimming. Case was investigated by the Attorney General's office following a referral from the Secretary of State's office. Lincoln County Sheriff's Office and Secret Service helped out as well on this one. Man, we still got the dogfighting stuff going on in places. Multiple arrests have been made in connection with an alleged dogfighting operation in Panola County. Panola County Sheriff's Office said 5 people are currently facing charges after deputies encountered a dogfighting event being prepared for on Sunday, unfolding at a property on Rock Hill Road, west of Sardis. 23 dogs rescued at the scene, being treated at clinics in the area. Portia Henderson, Derek Fondren, Marlo Cox, Andrew Franklin, and Ivan Sandridge, all charged with some combination of dogfighting, conspiracy, and possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. All 5 of them are Mississippians. Multiple vehicles impounded from the property. There's a good chance that there are more arrests. You got to be a sorry, sorry person. And a congratulations is in order. Big time congratulations. Oxford's M-Trade Park, for a long time, has been considered to be one of the best athletic facilities in Mississippi. How about in the entire country? The United States Specialty Sports Association, more commonly known as USSSA, presented M-Trade Park in Oxford with its 2025 Complex of the Year Award, solidifying the facility's dedication to youth baseball and other sports. Brad Freeman is the director of M-Trade Park alongside Clay Brownlee. He accepted the award at a national convention in Kansas City. M-Trade Park, chosen from more than 1,000 complexes across the country that host youth sporting events. Freeman said to win an award on the national level is something the park has never experienced. To get some love from the nation kind of speaks to how good the facility is and how fortunate we are to have this type of facility in Oxford, Mississippi. The Board of Aldermen in Oxford officially commended M-Trade Park. Congrats to M-Trade Park for winning the 2025 USSSA Complex of the Year Award. It's a great honor for our community. Thank you to all of you and all of our employees at M-Trade Park and the Oxford Park Commission for making M-Trade as special as it is. We are truly blessed to have a facility like this in Oxford.
Man, I got to shout out to Brad Freeman, an old nemesis and good friend. What a dude. That is a huge honor, and he has to be a big part of that. When I lived up there, that place is absolutely amazing. I watched it from ground up as it continued to expand, and I've not been to a park anything near as nice as that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, amazing job.
Well, I come at this from a fairly unique perspective because my youth baseball playing days were pre-M-Trade Park. Mm-hmm. So in, I don't know, 3rd grade and 4th grade, we played at Hank Aaron across from the library down on Bramlett. No, that wasn't Hank Aaron. I'm sorry. That was Dizzy Dean. And there was like a 9 and 10-year-olds field where if somebody got hold of one, they hit it out into the road. It didn't happen for me very often. But then there was the little field, almost like the coach pitch field that was like back in a hole on the other side, but man, it was a big deal to us anyway. Then you went over to Hank Aaron by the Oxford Park Commission, and it was starting to feel like big boy baseball. Then you went over to Avent Park, and that's where 13-15 was played.
Gave many a lesson over there.
Oh, man. Man, those summer nights at Avent Park.
What a beautiful spot, though.
And now all of that has evolved. You got some of those fields that are still in place, but the Hank Aaron complex has been replaced by an incredible tennis facility. They've built a new Park Commission building. Still got the softball field at Stone Park up on top of the hill, but, man, it's all shifted to M-Trade. And it is, that place runs like a top.
As much as going on out there, I mean, you have to be good at this. You go out there
on a Tuesday night in the fall or the spring, and it's like as far as the eye can see, they're just people.
That's the way I look at it. I mean, as
just
far as
game after game after game after game, like soccer and baseball and softball, and it's all going on at the same time. It's incredible.
It really is. And then you got a facility too, like an indoor facility there, and I mean, it's top notch, man.
Yeah.
If y'all haven't scheduled a tournament up there yet because you don't know, you go on and do it. It's worth the trip.
Yep. All right, hoops last night, Mississippi State on the road in College Station. This is your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online, pearlriverresort.com. Check them out. Go see them. Casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. It's all available at pearlriverresort.com. Bulldogs were down 11 at the half, outscored 44-33. Not much different in the second half as Mississippi State goes down by 20 on the road. Bulldogs fall to 10-9 on the year, 2-4 in the SEC. It's 4 straight losses in league play for Mississippi State. Meanwhile, Texas A&M is now 15-4 overall and 5-1 in the conference. Bulldogs were led in scoring last night by Brandon Walker, 16 points on 7 of 10 shooting. King Grace had 13 points off the bench. Jaden Epps with 11. Another tough shooting night for Josh Hubbard, 12 points in 31 minutes. He was 2 of 8 from 3 and 5 of 14 from the field. Rashawn Agee led the way for Texas A&M with 23 points and 10 rebounds, so a double-double for him. Also had 5 assists as the Aggies won it 88-66. Couple of other games in the SEC last night. Tight one between Kentucky and Lexington in Rupp Arena, but it was Kentucky with the win 85-80 over the Texas Longhorns. Did you see or hear this news yesterday? At the collegiate level, NIL, name, image, and likeness, has become the norm. Top players earning deals estimated to be in the millions of dollars. Student athletes in Mississippi, no strangers to the financial fruits, but now some of those could potentially be coming to high school players. House Bill 1400, authored by Democrat Representative Jeffrey Harness, called the Mississippi High School Student Athlete NIL Protection Act, establishes a framework for high school athletes to earn compensation under specific parameters. High school athlete could get paid for endeavors such as endorsements, social media posts, and appearances as long as the money did not happen to be performance-based or an enticement to transfer to another school. Isn't all of this indirectly performance-based? I mean,
you're not selling
Is
milkshakes.
The third-string right guard the guy that's going to advertise your tire shop? Are you going to get the star running back? Take a time out. We're back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross. Got a lottery update coming up next.
From the Venable Blast.
Good morning, everybody. Time to wake up.
Time to shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mississippi Lottery Update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery online at mslottery.com. Somebody in North Carolina is waking up with a smile on their face, if they've even checked yet. A ticket purchased in North Carolina matched all 5 white balls plus the Powerball to win an estimated $209 million jackpot last night, with a cash value of $95 million. And so it will reset. It goes back down to $20 million. Congratulations, North Carolina. After all the taxes and all the stuff, that person is going to walk away with $50, $60 million in their pocket, which is a good start to the day. Really good start to the day. No winner in Mega Millions, which means Friday's jackpot there is worth $266 million, about $121 million, the estimated cash value. We had a Mississippi Match 5 winner, ticket purchased at Love's in Sandersville, matched all 5 numbers to win the $54,000 jackpot. Resets tonight to $50,000. Those winning numbers were 3, 6, 18, 20, and 28, the last number. And finally, this morning, the Mississippi Lottery is launching an exciting new multi-state draw game, Millionaire for Life. Starting Sunday, February 22nd, you could win $1 million a year for the rest of your life, or even $100,000 a year for your life, with daily drawings and multiple ways to win. Stay tuned for more details, mslottery.com or the Mississippi Lottery app. Glad to be with you this morning. That's your Mississippi Lottery update brought to you by MS Lottery. I was thinking back to my high school time. High school NIL could actually be the purest form of NIL if it were enacted properly. Had 3 buddies, Lance. I think there were 4 of us. Yeah. No, there were 5 of us. That on Friday mornings, game days, our senior year, we all went to Smitty's for breakfast.
Man, I kept that place business.
Whew.
Man. The country ham and red-eye gravy.
I got a sausage and cheese omelet. Sometimes we get a side of pancakes. Always got crispy bacon.
Yeah.
Little orange juice, little coffee.
That was my dad's. He still talks about it. You remember that breakfast place in Oxford we'd go to before game? Yes, sir, I do. Yeah. That was called Smitty's. My sister.
It sure was.
My sister would tell you all about it too.
That building's not there anymore, but I feel like I could have done an advertisement for them.
Oh man!
And you know how thrilled I would have been, even if they didn't put cash in my pocket. If my breakfast had just been free every week.
Give me that country ham and red-eye gravy free.
Yeah.
Have it waiting on me. Don't need to pay me.
Offensive lineman could probably do a deal with Waffle House, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about that NIL thing. Contracts for student athletes under 18 will be required to be in writing with a parent's signature per the legislation. Any deal done without a parent's consent would be nullified. If the high schooler's NIL exceeded $10,000, additional earnings would have to go into a restricted trust account that the student could access once they turned 18. Copies of the NIL deals would have to be disclosed to MHSAA within a reasonable time after their execution. House Bill 1400 has been referred to House Judiciary A. So we'll see. We shall see.
Man, open me up a luxury leasing car business.
There you go. Check it out. Check it out. Did you see the story that felt a little conspiracy theory-ish last week surrounding the San Francisco 49ers?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, 49ers had a rash of injuries and have several times in recent years. And the 49ers are going to investigate every avenue to find out why those ailments continue to pile up year after year, including an investigation into the viral conspiracy theory that the electrical substation near their training facility and near Levi's Stadium is contributing to those injuries. John Lynch, the general manager, announced this on Wednesday. He said, quote, because it deals with allegedly the health and safety of our players, I think you have to look into everything. We've been reaching out to anyone and everyone to see, does the study exist other than a guy sticking an apparatus underneath the fence and coming up with a number that I have no idea what that means? That's what we know exists. We've heard that debunked. The health and safety of our players is the utmost priority. We pour into it. Our ownership, Jed York, is tremendous in terms of resources and will always be cognizant of things. I know that a lot of games have been won at this facility since it opened, but yeah, we aren't going to turn a blind eye to the theory. 8 o'clock hour on the way. News out of Davos is Donald Trump getting what he wanted all along. Possibly. Did everybody fall for it again? Mornings with Richard Cross. News is coming up next. We're back with you on this Thursday, the 22nd of January.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Well, I used to wake the morning before the rooster crowed, searching for soda bottles to get myself some dough. Run 'em down to the corner, down to the country store, cash 'em in and give my money to a man named Curtis Lowe. Was a black man.
7 o'clock hour. Good morning to you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Get the best of wireless 5G nationwide coverage. Get the best of internet in your house with fiber to the home. Get the best in business IT services, whether it's internet or anything that the business IT team offers at C Spire. Learn more online at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. I promise I am not offended by the message that you just sent from the 601 that says play the rest of that and skip the talk. I'm not offended by that.
That's a good
because
one.
I, too, love the ballad of Curtis Lowe.
I actually love seeing your face when you first hear it, and you're like, oh,
it's like,
yeah,
all right, we're just going to listen to this for a minute.
Here we go.
Old Kurt could play that dobro, couldn't he?
Oh, man. And I love a dobro. What a great instrument.
No doubt. I think that on this particular issue, we can say, I told you so. Not in a demeaning way, just in a, we've been paying attention and hopefully you have as well. Not necessarily suggesting that you should run out and read The Art of the Deal, the book that Donald Trump has had out for a long time. But when you look at The Art of the Deal and you look at the history of Donald Trump, you know that more times than not, there is a method to his madness. We had Senator Roger Wicker on a week or two ago, and he mentioned that he had said publicly to Donald Trump, hey, you need to drop the invade Greenland idea. People have gotten all up in their feelings on the idea that we would go and militarily take over a country. Did Donald Trump ever actually plan for a military operation to take over Greenland? Or did he just throw out something so preposterous and so ridiculous, with a history of sometimes doing things that seem at first a little preposterous and a little ridiculous, when his end goal was altogether something different, so that when he finally gets to the end goal, he actually got what he wanted all along? We get reporting out of Davos after world leaders came together at the World Economic Forum that the framework of a deal between Trump and or the United States and Greenland is emerging. The Twitter account, it's a pretty good one, the Kobayashi letter, X account I should say, reports yesterday that details of the Trump-Greenland deal have emerged and include small pockets of land in Greenland for the United States, presumably for military installations. The United States being involved in Greenland's mineral rights. A duration of the deal with an indefinite timeline and time frame. All designed to block Russian influence in Greenland. The Golden Dome for the United States would be involved. That's the missile defense system that would be incredibly strategic when you look at the launch points and the military bases for Russia, and would open the door for United States-backed infrastructure investment on the island of Greenland. This report suggests that Trump is looking to secure land, minerals, and defense all in one deal. Byron York was on Fox News with Brett Baer yesterday, and he summarized it like this.
About it, I have to say, this was kind of classic Trump, wasn't it? I mean, Trump wants something, and then he asks for 10 times that. And the other side flips out, and they go back and forth and go back and forth. It becomes a huge news story. Finally, they make an offer. He agrees to it, and it's kind of what they could have gotten in the first place.
And says they're wonderful people and happy to work with them. And suddenly, it's this dismount that we could predict by how it's set up at the beginning.
Yes, and the other side's happy because they think they dodged a bullet. So it's just classic Trump.
So an idea that is, again, so preposterous that everybody gets mad about it. Republicans frustrated about it. John Thune speaking out about it. Roger Wicker speaking out about it. And others in the Senate and the House. Calls for the 25th Amendment to be invoked because he's just absolutely crazy and unfit for office. The left up in arms. Parts of the right up in arms. NATO. Oh, you got Macron in his aviator sunglasses. By the way, that was a funny line from Trump yesterday. He said, I saw Emmanuel Macron speaking yesterday wearing his Top Gun sunglasses, and Trump pauses. He goes, the hell was that? And everybody just laughs. Mark Rutte, the leader of NATO, going, we might be onto something here. Pretty classic Donald Trump. And if a deal emerges in which a stronger partnership is the result between the United States and Denmark, the United States and Greenland, you get more opportunities for military presence. You're able to come to a working arrangement where the United States sees some benefit from the minerals, and they see that benefit because of allowed infrastructure development and partnership, then you walk out of this thing and you're like, Trump did it again.
Also, you found out the hand that the rest of Europe's trying to play.
Mm-hmm. There were some interesting things that came out of the World Economic Forum, including a comment from the Finnish Prime Minister where he said, Europe absolutely can defend itself. And the lady asking the question goes, without the United States? He goes, absolutely. And then she comes back to that later. He goes, well, that's not exactly what I said. See if I've got that clip. It's so good.
History suggests you can't, but we'll listen.
Yeah. I think I've got it saved somewhere. This was great. It was a kind of a roundtable conversation that was happening. Yeah, here we go. It was the Finnish president saying that Europe can defend itself without the United States, and then just 11 minutes later he goes, well, that's not exactly what I said. Finnish president is Alexander Stubb.
First is a direct answer to the question of this panel, can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans. I mean,
how?
Well, look.
But you're relying on them for these key elements. You've said.
All right, so this is when she follows up 11 minutes later.
Earlier that Europe can defend itself without the Americans. If it comes down...
not exact. That's not a quote.
More or less. More or less. We'll go back to the transcript. More or less. More or less.
I love journalists.
He says, I love journalists. He goes, that's not exactly what I said. Well, hold on a second. Let's go back. Is it not exactly what you said? Because I'm pretty sure it's exactly what you said.
First is a direct answer to the question of this panel, can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans, I mean...
Without the Americans. And then she brings it back up. He goes, well, that's not exactly what I said. Not a direct quote. Except for the fact that it was exactly a direct quote, President Stubb. Upon further review, maybe not.
From the Venerable.
Good morning to you there.
Okay, up and at 'em. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome again, Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for being with us. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so on the Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. This hour of the show is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough. If you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Call them today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Happy to welcome in our first guest this morning. Philip Chamblee is the Executive Director of the Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. Kind enough to spend some time with us in studio this morning. Philip, I want to start you off with a clip from Landman. The great philosopher Billy Bob Thornton, who played the role of Tommy Norris, was talking about oil production and what exactly the sweet spot is. I want you to tell us if this is reality.
60, but below 90. And don't get me wrong, we're still printing money at 90, but gas gets up over $3.50 a gallon, it starts to pinch. It hits 100. Every product in America has to readjust its price. $78 a barrel, that's about perfect. It brings enough profit to keep exploring, but it don't sting as much at the pump.
All right, so that's from Landman on Netflix, a show that a lot of people have watched. Oil between 60 and 90 a barrel, 78 being the sweet spot. Is that accurate?
Some people think the sweet spot is around $70 a barrel. I mean,
Okay.
there's some truth in what he's saying because, you know, every dollar changed a barrel of oil. And by the way, a barrel of oil is 42 gallons. So when a barrel of oil goes up $1 or down $1, you'll see about a 2.5% reflection at the pump. He's close on that. And right now, I think West Texas Intermediary Crude, WTI, closed at about $60 a barrel yesterday. And, of course, President Trump wants to get it down to $50 a barrel, which is great for the consumer at the pump. But then again, you have to look at the other side of the ledger. You're going to have people in the oil fields out in Texas, people who work offshore here in Mississippi. It may tighten up employment, you know, in the oil fields. So, I mean, everything is a give and take. So,
It really is an interesting dynamic, and it controls so much of what happens geopolitically, not just in the United States, but around the world.
Correct.
And we had, I guess we're a few weeks removed now from the removal of Nicolas Machado in Venezuela, and there was an immediate conversation about oil related to that. Now, the White House primarily was talking about drugs entering the country, but shortly thereafter we got a meeting at the White House with major oil producers, some of the major oil companies, and kind of mixed reviews out of that meeting. There were some that seemed to be optimistic about putting facilities in Venezuela and being able to extract the oil there, but others who were a little more cautious because of the uncertainty surrounding that. When you look at that situation, what stands out to you?
Well, some people, there is research that shows that the oil in Venezuela is more than what they have in the Middle East, okay? It's an oil-rich country. It's a heavier crude. Whereas what you find out in West Texas and the Permian Basin is what they call a sweet crude or a lighter crude. And the oil companies have been there over the last century. The trouble was when the country became nationalized, a lot of their assets were taken. You know, the assets are not being kept up like they should be kept up. I think they're producing close to 1 million barrels a day. If they go in and upgrade all the systems, I think they can get that number up to about 1.35 million barrels per day. But the oil companies, I know Chevron has a presence there, the biggest presence from what I understand. But the issue you have is the hesitancy of the major oil companies to go in and make a big investment and reinvest until the country is stabilized, so they won't have their assets seized again. So you're looking at potentially 30 to 50 million barrels of oil for the United States. That's great for the consumer. So, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to it. One of the things that you'll see with this, and I'm certainly no geopolitical expert like Lance, and you are.
I don't know about that.
But, you know, the country...
Lance, maybe. Certainly not me.
Hey, I'm going to take all the compliments I can get. Thank you, Philip.
You're welcome. The trouble you have is, or the issue you have, you know, Iran, Russia, and Cuba were benefiting from all this oil, and mainly China, okay? So when you start squeezing that supply, I mean, it's going to put a big hurt on Cuba. It's, you know, China is one of the world's biggest importers of oil, and right now they're going to have to look toward other markets. You've got unrest in Iran, so it's truly a global situation, you know, when you look at the supply and demand, where the oil was going.
One of the things that it feels like every time we get to an election cycle at the presidential level, there is a conversation about energy independence for the United States. And there are a lot of people that say, hey, we can be energy independent. Some say we need a diversified approach where it's not just oil, but also includes solar and wind and water and all of those different pieces. As you work with people in the oil industry on a daily basis, what is the thought on American energy independence?
Well, absolutely. I mean, a country's got to be energy independent so you don't depend on everybody else. I mean, you know, look at the early 70s from, you know, what we learned with the gas crisis in the early 70s. So you want to be energy independent, and we are for all the above in our industry. And I'm more on the retail downstream side than the upstream side, but I do deal with the upstream, which is the exploration and refining. And, you know, there's no one-size-fits-all answer for everybody. You know, some people, you know, you take, for instance, out west where there's a lot of wind and more sun. Solar is a good alternative. Where here in Mississippi, I don't think it's as good as an alternative. So, you look at our natural gas reserves here in the United States. Who is going to extract coal, oil, and natural gas safer, cleaner, and better than anybody else? The United States is. In other countries, they're not going to have the same environmental restrictions and things of that nature. So when you look at it, I think that, yes, you've got to be energy independent. And I think about 3 or 4 years ago, I can't remember exactly when, in the past, America became a net exporter of oil. A lot of people are surprised that we get more oil from Canada than we do the Middle East. And it's our refineries here in the United States, and Chevron's refinery in Pascagoula is one of the biggest in their network, if not the biggest here in the States. A lot of these refineries are set up because of the historical, when they were built, they are really equipped for the heavier crude, and that's what you get out of Venezuela. That's what you get out of Canada. It's a sour crude or a heavier crude. So,
visiting with Philip Chamblee. He is executive director of the Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. He works with gas stations all over the state of Mississippi. Deregulation is another buzzword that we get. And when there is a Republican president in office, there seems to be less red tape, although sometimes it takes a little while to get there. We're about a year into this presidency, and people are talking about it's getting easier, but we're not there yet. Specifically for the oil industry, what does deregulation mean to you? What does it mean for your clients and for the people that you work with on a day? And maybe what does it mean for us?
Well, actually, it means for us. I mean, and when you look at deregulation, one of the biggest things I think you see is the availability for the offshore leases that were restricted in administrations past. There's still oil reserves, my understanding, off the coast of California in places where the government lands where they won't release the bidding for the leases, or they make it so hard that once you bid on a lease, if you do that, to get the oil out, it's not worth it. So, the oil industry, the gasoline industry, the people I work for, we're all about the environment. I mean, we love to hunt, we love to fish, and all those type of things. And so, the oil industry is very cognitive of the environment, wants to take care of it. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier: who's going to do it more efficiently and safer? Someone like the United States, or someone like Russia and China who won't,
What about in terms of pipeline construction and kind of tying the country together in a better way through pipelines? Oh,
absolutely. That's one of the most efficient, cheapest, and safest ways to transport a product, because you look at a situation, if there's an issue with the pipeline, where they can go below it and turn the pipeline off, and above it and turn the pipeline off and repair the problem. But when you start, any other methods of transportation, you have increased risk and you have increased cost. And that affects the end user, the consumer.
Visiting with Philip Chamblee. We're going to get him to hang with us for a couple of more minutes. On the other side of the break, continue to talk about the oil industry, what it means here in Mississippi, prices at the pump. That seems to be like the ultimate barometer for many of us, but there is I suppose more to it than that. And in fact, when we come back, we'll talk about what goes into the price of a gallon of gasoline. We'll start there on the other side of the break. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Zebra.
This is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Wake up! Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Nice early morning surprise.
On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Let me fix something I said that was wrong. When we were talking about the removal of the leader in Venezuela, I said Machado. Maria Corina Machado is actually the good guy in the story. She's the one that got the Nobel Peace Prize. It's Nicolas Maduro, who was removed from office alongside his wife. So fix that. Get the names right. Philip Chamblee is my guest. I think I've got his name right.
You do.
He's the executive director with the Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. I said before the break, let's start here. The cost of a gallon of gas.
Yes.
One of the things that people love to say is when something happens, like potentially an ice storm, we see the cost at the pump go up quickly, and it always takes a whole lot longer to go down than go back down than it does for it to go up. What all goes in to the price of a gallon of gas at the pump?
Well, Richard, I'm glad you asked that question, and I will tell you, basically, when you look at gasoline, 47% when you look at a gallon of gas, 47% of that is crude oil, 16% is refining, okay? 20% is distribution and marketing, and 17% is taxes. Okay, so that's what goes into a gallon of gasoline, and as far as the cost, a little bit
in Mississippi.
In Mississippi, well, actually, this is an average nationwide. Okay, and so the biggest factors is crude oil, distribution. Refining and taxes. Right now, the tax on gasoline in Mississippi is 18.4 on the federal level, and 21 on the state level. And diesel, it's 24 on the federal level and 21 on the state level. So in Mississippi, 39.4 cents of every of that cost of gasoline when you purchase it at the pump is attributed to taxes. So it's a volume business when you look at it. The margins on gasoline, and I stay ignorant of that because of antitrust laws, but it's there's not a lot to be made on gasoline. It's a volume business. So when gas prices fall, people buy more gasoline, diesel, and you were correct, Richard. It's like a barometer of consumer confidence.
Yeah.
So if gas prices are lower, transportation costs are lower to move stuff either by rail, air, or truck lines, and that eventually gets to the consumer. So the lower the price is at the pump, the more likely they are to have additional money to go inside the store and purchase things or go somewhere else and purchase things.
All right, couple of questions based on that. One, you said you stay clear of this because of antitrust, but if
Correct.
you talk to a gas station owner,
correct,
they will tell you, I really don't make much money on gasoline.
That is correct.
And I think there's truth there. I don't think anybody's hiding anything.
That is correct.
What about when you see prices go up at the pump and it feels preemptive? Like there's a hurricane that is brewing and you feel like you see prices go up, but you're like, there's no way that they're already paying an enhanced cost for what is coming to them. It can't happen that quickly.
Well, there's the old saying, up like rockets and down like feathers when it comes to the price of gasoline. But you have to look at it this way. You're looking at a product that changes multiple times a day in the price. And if something is coming in, it's like any commodity. If you have a store selling blue jeans, you may raise the price of them if you hear there's going to be a denim shortage, okay? But it's a competitive industry. There's again, they're out there to make money, and if you don't like the price at one location, there's 2,900 convenience stores in Mississippi. Just go across the street, okay? Yeah. And so, it's a free market,
Yeah. We had a question on the C Spire text line about the price of diesel, why it always is, or almost always, is more expensive than gasoline.
Because, so in diesel, 38% of that is crude oil. Refining is 27%, distribution and marketing is 19%, taxes is 16%, okay? The diesel fuel we have today is not your daddy's or granddaddy's diesel fuel, okay? This is an ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel that is for environmental reasons. It burns more efficiently and cleanly. You have to have a DEF with that diesel fuel, diesel exhaust fluid, so you don't see when a diesel truck takes off, you don't see the big puff of black smoke like you used to, not just an older truck.
Yeah.
Well, it costs more to manufacture it. I can remember when diesel was always cheaper than gasoline, but that was the old diesel. This is the new diesel, for lack of a better word. So that it costs more to manufacture it. That's just like you'll see gas prices go up in the spring, and the reason is because of the EPA air standards. Okay, and so they have to change the way it's manufactured. It's heavier. Let's see, the Reed vapor pressure. I don't want to get into the science of it, okay? Yeah. But there's winter blend gasoline, there's summer blend gasoline. The summer blend gasoline is a gasoline that is blended for to be cleaner in the summertime. Number two, it ignites easier, okay?
Okay.
In the wintertime, you have to have because of temperatures. So there is a difference in the way they manufacture it. And when you have to do these things to meet the EPA standards in spring and in summertime, fuel costs more because it costs more to manufacture.
It's crazy how the technology has evolved. I mean, I think anybody that's my age, your age, or older remembers if you got in a diesel engine, you had to turn the ignition but not crank it and allow glow plugs to do their thing and give it a second before you cranked it. And it's not really the way that it works with some of the newer vehicles that are out there now.
My vehicle's a diesel. I used to have one you had to wait for glow plugs to warm up. Mine didn't you have to turn it on, then it cranks up. It automatically does it, which is nice, but it's scary because that means that's something else to tear up.
Yeah, I guess you're onto something there. There are people that say DEF is evil. That it's a terrible thing. It adds cost to driving a diesel, and that there's really not any need for it. Is there a need for DEF?
Well, there is because of the way that's set up in the engine emission standards, and it does not go into the crankcase. It's in the after it comes out of the motor in the combustion process and the exhaust process. And I think I have to fill my DEF tank every 10,000 miles, and it's urea, and it mixes in there. But I know people. It's aggravating. I've heard of people that bypass the system and everything, but I have not done that and won't. But teach your own. We live in a free country. You can do what you want to do, to a certain extent.
I'm curious about gas station ownership. There are operators of gas stations all over the state of Mississippi that are extremely well run, but there is a proliferation of ownership of gas stations, and a lot of times they're bought out as opposed to original, that seem to be the owners are more Middle Eastern. We've seen that in the hotel industry as well. Is there a reason that those two particular industries, but we're talking about gas stations with you in particular, convenience stores, have been gobbled up by people from other countries?
Well, here in Mississippi, we're still very fortunate. Most of our gasoline distributors, a lot of our retailers are multi-generational, okay? So the business model is this way. You have some of my members who strictly just own locations and lease them. So you could have a store, Lance could have a store. There are members who do distribution and retail operations, okay? And so when you look at a situation, you take someone, just like our ancestors, when they came across here, they're wanting to start their American dream.
Right.
And this is the way I perceive it. Someone comes from another country, they work in a big city or something, save up their money. When you look at Mississippi, the cost of living, the cost of property, the cost to buy a business is much less than what it would be in New York or, California, so they can come down here and buy a convenience store that's for sale and start their American dream. So I think that's the reason you see more multicultural dealers down in the South, because of the availability and the cost of living and the cost of the store itself. Yeah, that's my personal analysis on it.
Yeah, no, I just was curious. I mean, it's an interesting concept that particular industry seems to be so heavily dominated, at least in some areas, by that. Good question.
And you've seen it in some other industries as well, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Not used to these temps. Does he recommend anti-gel in diesel trucks these next few days?
No, I would not. It's not as, you've got to be at sustained, what I understand about, 0 degrees for a while. But I'm certainly no mechanic. I wouldn't, they need to defer to their owner's manual, but I don't think it'd be necessary, no. I'm not going to plug mine in because it's not sustained temperatures of 0, according to the owner's manual.
Does anybody do engine block heaters anymore?
Well, they have them on there, yeah. I mean, they're still on there. There's a plug on mine. You can plug it into the wall and warm it up, but that's for colder climates like up north.
Much
up north, like, places like Oxford.
Yeah. Well, I think Monday morning it's going to be really, really cold. Maybe you just need to give it a little extra time to heat up.
Exactly.
Philip, I appreciate your time. I know we covered a lot of ground there, but some good insight, and look forward to visiting with you again soon.
Thank you, Lance, and thank you, Richard. I hope y'all have a great day. Stay warm to you and your listeners.
You as well. Philip Chamblee, Executive Director of the Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. He's got his finger on the pulse of that particular industry. We will wrap up the 7 o'clock hour coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross with you, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net.
From the Venable Glass.
Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now that's entertainment.
A little bit later today, you've got In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar. You will hear part 1 of an interview with filmmaker David Cruz. You can listen to In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar today at 1 o'clock here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert with you. We all know that social media seems to kind of make the world go round. Occasionally, we will take a hiatus from social media and find that indeed, the world does keep spinning without death scrolling on Instagram or constantly checking X for the latest news or posting your most recent Facebook update. It's rare, though, that you see college-age students or even high school-age students do that. Another example that Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza is a little different than maybe your normal college student. He eliminated all of social media during the football season, with one exception. He stayed on LinkedIn, which is more of a business-related social media platform, and he followed it up with a post-national championship. He said, Monday night, my teammates and I had the honor of raising the national championship trophy and bringing back a title to Bloomington for the first time in history. Here's what winning a national championship taught me about B2B sales, business-to-business sales. And then he says, kind of kidding. He goes on to say, his points are believe in yourself, take the risk, and remember who got you there. And he expounded on those things. You don't have that many college students that are going to LinkedIn to post on social media right after. He is a different cat. But a national championship-winning cat now. Lance, have you updated LinkedIn lately?
I know I have an account, but yeah.
I'm kind of like you. It's like there's one there, and I occasionally will get a notification where somebody's like, hey, congratulations on your work anniversary. I'm like, okay, thanks. I didn't know that was today. I said earlier that there were some interesting things that came out of the World Economic Forum. The meeting in Davos, Switzerland with global economic leaders. I thought this was an interesting thing. Mark Rutte is he's the president of NATO, or the chair of NATO, and he was doing a sit-down conversation with Donald Trump. And he said, I actually want to take exception with something, President Trump, that you said. Take a listen.
There's one thing I heard you say yesterday and today. You were not absolutely sure that the Europeans would come to the rescue of the US if you will be attacked. Let me tell you, they will. And they did in Afghanistan, as you know, for every American who paid the ultimate, for every 2 Americans who paid the ultimate price, there was one soldier from another NATO country who did not come back to his family. From the Netherlands, from Denmark, particularly, from other countries. So you can be assured, absolutely, if ever the US will be under attack, your allies will be with you. Absolutely, there's absolute guarantee. I really want to tell you that because it is important. It pains me if you think it is not. And under your leadership, this alliance is stronger than ever.
I thought that was an interesting note. You've got these NATO countries, and one of the things that Russia would absolutely love to see, and one of the things that China would absolutely love to see, is discord among the NATO nations. Because the European nations and the United States together make a pretty powerful foe. Now, any disruption or discord that exists within NATO, many people would credit or blame Donald Trump. There is no question that he has upset the apple cart in his time in office, both in his first 4 years and, more importantly, in this last year, his first year of second administration. But he upset the apple cart to make this partnership among countries more tenable for the United States. The United States was footing the majority of the bill. And the other NATO countries, the European NATO countries, were receiving the benefit without having enough or as much, anywhere close to as much skin in the game. And Donald Trump pushed and pushed and pushed on this, and he got everybody to 2%, and then the majority of the countries agreed to go to 5% of GDP to support the operations of NATO. And it was a massive win, and it strengthened the partnership. We've talked about all the things that Donald Trump has said about Greenland and NATO. At least some of the member countries of NATO have pushed back. They pushed back in a big, big way. But again, we're seeing Trump with method to his madness, and it appears as if a partnership is on the way with Greenland that will be beneficial for the United States, will be beneficial for Greenland, and ultimately will be beneficial for the NATO countries not named the United States, even if they did not like the way that Donald Trump went about getting to this agreement. 8 o'clock hour on the way. News is next. It's Mornings with Richard Cross.
Your time to switch on. Mornings with Richard Cross. On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Yeah!
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Happy to be with you. We're presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless. All designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Thanks for joining us as we roll into this 8 o'clock hour. We've got a couple of guests on the way, including Haley Fisackerly right now, President and CEO of Entergy Mississippi, always kind with his time. Haley, good morning. Thanks so much for coming in.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you. Appreciate this opportunity to be with you and your audience.
Absolutely. As kids, we heard that snow was in the forecast, and we got really excited. Make sure the sleds are ready. Make sure we've got our snow clothes ready to go, and hopeful that a couple of days of unplanned school break were on the way. I'm assuming that your reaction and all of the folks at Entergy's reaction is not the same when the forecast says snow, and certainly not the same when it looks like it's going to be an ice event.
Well, that is exactly right, and thank you, Richard, for a chance to talk to the audience about this. Yes, ice is a concern, and that is something we're watching very carefully. Definitely understand the appreciation of young people and families, and that's great. Be prepared to stay at home and enjoy that weather and stay off the roads. We are actively preparing We do this year-round, but we are actually in winter mode now and doing all we can to prepare. But ice is the concern. We're watching extreme northwest Mississippi and parts of the Delta is where we think our service area will be heavily impacted. That freeze line is the concern. Where will it drop? How far will it come down? So central Mississippi is definitely in the realm of possibility. Forecast this morning shows a little shifting there, but that keeps changing. But ice is the problem. We get around a half an inch, that gets to create a problem for us.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you about the forecast piece of it, because going back to, I think it was maybe Sunday afternoon when I heard one of my kids' friends go, "Hey, have y'all seen it's going to snow next Friday?" And everybody was kind of getting excited. But as the week has gone along, people have watched this forecast very, very closely, and it appears as if the majority of this storm has shifted a little bit to the north, but it's really the snow that has shifted. It's kind of that southern edge of this band where it appears as if there's a higher chance for freezing rain. What are your forecasters, the meteorologists that you rely on telling you?
That's right. That's what we're seeing. The call we have with our meteorologists, and we're having those updates with them multiple times a day, and they're watching it very closely. But that's what they're showing us, too, is that North Mississippi is looking like a pretty good amount of freezing rain. And it's in that half-inch to a quarter-inch range, and that's where we have to be prepared and ready to respond.
Is freezing rain the biggest concern for you as a power provider?
Well, it is, and if it's followed by high winds. So if you start to put a half an inch of ice on our lines, that adds in excess of 500 pounds per line segment. And then with that weight, well, what happens to the tree limbs above them or around them or trees outside of right-of-ways that starts to bring tree limbs down. But if you add wind to that, pushing on that weight on those lines, and that adds another component. So we're having to watch the wind as closely as possible and the road conditions, right? We want to get our crews out as quickly as possible, but we have to do it safely. And road conditions are something we have to be prepared to, and how ice impacts that. So the temperatures, how cold will it be? How long will it stay cold? When will things melt? And the road conditions. So it's icing, temperatures, and wind that we have to watch.
Is one bigger than the other? I should say a bigger deal than the other in terms of freezing rain accumulating on the lines and the weight on those, or is it we get so many pine trees, and when that freezing rain starts hanging on those pine needles and causing them to sag, is one of those issues bigger than the other?
Well, they're both equally a problem. Now, we do a lot to keep our right-of-ways clear, right, and to prevent the overhangs. But in some cases, even our equipment can't get that high, and we try to address that where we can. So it's a multiple thing. It's the weight on the lines with the limb hitting it. If the weight wasn't on the line, a lot of times they're designed to be resilient, to bounce back and bounce that limb off of there. But if you have that weight added to it and the limb hits it, that's a multiple factor of that. And so that's the thing we have to watch for.
So you said your entire team is in preparation mode. I'm curious how preparation mode changes based on the time of year we're in, because there are different factors. I mean, obviously we have a tornado season that feels like it's longer than it's ever been, and we can have winter tornadoes and spring tornadoes. We have hurricane season, which affects obviously the southern part of the state, and then can kind of work its way up, and then you get into the winter weather. So how does the preparation differ based on the type of storm we're talking about?
Yeah, Richard. So we prepare for all scenarios, and this is done year-round. We have a team that constantly prepares and models and exercises. So, but in this type of event, so first at our power plants, we have to come in. If we expect extreme cold conditions, that impacts, we use a lot of water at those plants. So where can we put windbreaks up, more insulation, blankets, things of that nature to manage through those type of process, walk down, monitoring process to make sure they're working. When you add the ice and the cold temperatures, wood and metals become more brittle too. And so where are some of the segments of your lines where it may be more risk? So we need to be prepared for that. We bring in armies of people. Okay, so where are we going to stage these people? When an ice storm hits, you really got to get your resources close because it's hard to mobilize when roads are covered in ice. Yeah. Hurricanes and tornadoes, you don't want to be in the impacted area. You want to stay back and attack after. So it's two different ways you approach that. And think about this. You don't want to get a bunch of people in the wrong area and then you ice them in and they can't get to another area. So it's a lot of coordination there. We've already identified close to 2,000 resources we're ready to bring in. We have 650 already on the ground ready to respond. Logistics, how you feed them, how do you clean them, where the hotels are, how do we get power in those hotels, is an entire logistical army working to prepare for this.
For your linemen and your, I'll call them first responders, because in this situation that's kind of the role that they play. What are the shifts like? Because power goes out. If it's a widespread power outage, obviously everybody wants the electricity back on as quickly as they can possibly get it on. But this is pretty hard labor for a lot of these men and some of the women that are involved in this. What does their schedule look like in terms of they've got to rest, they've got to eat, they've got to sleep?
Right now we're telling them to rest up, get prepared, get packed.
Okay.
And then we immediately go into, once an incident happens, a storm, a disaster incident happens, we go to 16-hour work days. And they will work those up till 13 days, and then they have to go into a mandatory rest. But it's a lot of physical work, hard work. Time's involved too in trying to position them, reposition them. So it's a lot of effort in that. But they do go on to longer hours, 16-hour work days and work that. And we bring in additional crews to make sure we can work around the clock.
I don't think I've ever been able to stump you with the question. I'm going to try. What would be your guess as to how many chainsaws are owned by Entergy?
Well, this is where we lean on a lot of our good partners across our state, like Magnolia here in Mississippi is one of our great vendors that helps provide vegetation services and all that. They have that equipment, that specialized equipment. Yes, but many of our trucks do carry chainsaws on that. So we have hundreds and hundreds of trucks in the state, so they have that equipment as well. But we do lean on the vegetation. So your focus
for your people in the aftermath of a storm like this is less about debris removal, unless it's just necessary to get to a certain spot, and more about repair on lines immediately.
Oh, no, debris removal is that we have a team that does that, but we outsource that to these vegetation crews that come in. And that's the first thing. So here's the thing people need to realize, and I hear this all the time. Well, my light's out and I haven't seen a truck in my neighborhood. Well, we have to come in. Scouts come in immediately to assess the damage. What's broken? What needs to be replaced? What equipment is needed? How many people are needed? Then we have to get vegetation out. Roads are blocked. Trees could be on line, so vegetation crews have to come in and remove that. We then respond. First, we have to get hospitals, first responders, places like that owned first. Then we have to get the lines that move power into your neighborhoods and wherever you live. So those have to be rebuilt. And so we work our way into where you are. Your outage may be out, but there may not be lines down in your neighborhood. The feeder trunk that is serving your neighborhood or your area may be out and that we're replacing. But we know about it. We're ready to respond. We have new systems that tell us where people are out, where the line damage is. We're deploying lots of technology, drones that will help us inspect. We have helicopters ready. They'll be ready to respond and do surveys and know us where this is. And we have a lot of new technology that will help us identify where the problems are and route around it.
Was 1994, the ice storm of 1994, was that the biggest and most extended event that Entergy's had to deal with?
In Mississippi. Our sister company in Arkansas definitely dealt with a lot worse events than that, but 94 is one that makes people sit up in their chairs when you mention that year.
Yeah, hopefully we're not dealing with anything like that. Right. If we can, I would love for you to hang for another second, and we'll kind of switch gears. Talk about data centers on the other side of this. It's a conversation that is absolutely ongoing here in Mississippi and something that causes lots of questions for consumers as well. We're back with you right after this. Haley Fisackerly is my guest, President and CEO of Entergy Mississippi. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning, the 22nd of January. I think all of us are trying to be weather aware over the next few days as significant cold and potential for freezing rain, sleet, maybe a little bit of snow all on the way looking like later into the weekend, overnight Friday into Saturday and Sunday, and then really cold temperatures on the backside early next week. Haley Fisackerly is my guest right now, president and CEO with Entergy Mississippi. And I mentioned before the break, I'd like to switch gears if we could. So much conversation about the data centers in Mississippi, the $20 billion XAI project in DeSoto County, the $10 billion AWS project in central Mississippi, an additional $6 billion project, and potentially more of those on the way. One of the things that we know is these data centers require a lot of juice to make them run, and there are different ways that those centers are powered. You have been very, very involved from the early stages of conversations to the back end as well about power consumption and what that looks like here in Mississippi. Kind of give us a high-level overview of that first, and then we'll drill down a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. This is exciting. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience about it because this growth is exciting. And when done right, like we've done here in Mississippi, it benefits all of our customers. So Amazon is located in our service territory, building 3 campuses now, 2 in Madison County and 1 that has been announced in Vicksburg. Those are designed in a way to grow. That is requiring us to make investments. First is that we're having to build new power generation. 2 of those plants were already in our resource plan, scheduled to be built in the 2030 timeframe. Because of AWS, we've been able to pull those investments forward. And by doing that, because of the dash to build more generation across the United States, you can imagine what that's done to pricing of that. That by doing that, we're saving our customers over $2 billion in the cost of building those plants versus if we had to build them in 2030. They're more efficient plants. Therefore, meaning that when the gas that they burn will get more output for less input, meaning that creates over $700 billion in gas savings for our customers going forward. And so we're building 3 plants, 1 in Delta, 1 in Vicksburg, and 1 in Ridgeland, Mississippi. They're required to build 6 substations to serve them. Those are covered by Amazon Web Services. They have to pay incremental costs. The legislation introduced by the governor and approved by the legislature requires that they pay all incremental costs and provide benefits to our customers. The other benefit there, though,
that's an important piece that you can kind of run over. They are having to pay for this, and they're having to do it on the front end. Is that right?
That's right. Under the contract, it is a phased-in approach. So they're not. This doesn't happen overnight. This is a build. We're having to build out this facility as it grows, and we're having to build the plants. And the contract is designed where they do put cash up front to cover things and to finance that. And then the rate is designed where they're paying their proportionate share of that generation, the fuel, and all of that. And that's where the economy scales, right? All businesses, right? What cures all? Volume. If you sell more of your product or have more customers, it benefits your economies of scales and the customers. And that's what we're seeing happening here. But more unfortunately, it's allowing us to unlock new technologies, new way to serve our customers. The part that I'm excited about, though, just like we're talking about storm response, we know that we need to do more to invest in our grid to make it more reliable. And last year we announced SuperPower Mississippi. That's going to allow us to increase our spend into improving the reliability of our system by 50%. Nearly $300 million we're adding to improve reliability across the system. That will total a $1 billion plan over the next 5 years, modernizing the system with technology, making it more resilient to storms like this, more responsive, more reliable. And guess what? That incremental cost, that extra $300 million, is being covered by the revenue of AWS. It's not costing our customers anything. So that's what excites me, is what it's going to allow us to do for our communities and customers. There's other growth hoping around the state. Yes, XAI announced in South Haven. I get the questions a lot. Yes, we serve South Haven. But that is a different type of project. XAI is serving themselves. They're building.
They're going to power themselves, right?
That's right. And we have no problem with that. This is a great opportunity to bring more economic development as long as it stays behind the meter and they serve the building. You can do that by law in Mississippi. If they ever want to connect to the grid, now that's where we're going to have to get involved, and that's where we need to make sure it's done in a way just like we did with AWS, that it doesn't done in a way to harm our customers. So they have to pay those costs. But we have not had discussions with them. They're doing this on their own, and so that's great to see the economic come into that part of the state, economic development come into that part of the state.
The single biggest question that has come up and people have asked over and over is, am I going to see a rate increase on my bill from month to month? I think I hear you saying based on, at least in central Mississippi, the Amazon, the AWS facility, no. Now, that doesn't mean rates will never go up, yeah, but they are not expected to go up solely based on the construction of this data center. Well, is that accurate?
That's right. So this is why the growth has so been imperative to our business. Rates are going up. They have been going up, right? The cost of everything is more. The supplies, the materials, the labor, right, everything we've been dealing with since the post-pandemic, even before the pandemic. Costs have been going up. In fact, what concerned us a decade ago, Richard, was we saw that rates were going to see a compounded annual growth rate about 8% a year, just trying to manage the business as it is, not launching a Superpower Mississippi campaign. Now we have the growth coming in, and what we're projecting over the next 5 years as AWS ramps, we are now showing a projection by the 2030, by the time they ramp, our rates are going to be 16% below what they otherwise would have been. Oh. That's the benefit there. So okay. I don't want people to confuse that the rates aren't going up. Everything's costing us more. Natural gas prices have doubled in the last year. Still low, I think, from a perspective standpoint, but they did double. And we're seeing things like that. Materials, though, transformers, conduit, poles, labor is costing us all more. And so we needed growth to help us create the economies of scales to benefit all of our customers and communities, yeah, and that's what we're getting here.
From an infrastructure standpoint, if you see a new neighborhood that is being developed, then generally speaking, all of the power lines are underground. I live in Oxford. We live in an older neighborhood. There are trees all over the place. We have above ground power lines. There is a thought where it's like, okay, when these big storms come through, if all the lines were underground, you could avoid the issues of tree limbs coming down. Is it simply cost prohibitive, or is it even technologically allowable for the major transmission lines to be below ground as opposed to the big massive lines that we see above ground?
Well, theoretically, yes, you could have better reliability. It does cost significantly more. So first, keep this in mind. Now, Oxford is not a part. We don't serve that area, but
right. No, I understand.
Entergy, we serve. We're regulated by the Public Service Commission. So the standard in rates is based off above ground service. Okay, that's how standards are set in rates. If you choose to go underground, there's a differential. And so what you are seeing is new neighborhoods, the developers are choosing to build underground and pay that differential cost and pay it through the selling of those lots and stuff of that nature. And that's great. We're seeing a lot more of that. But keep in mind, though, that's the distribution portion. What is still above ground and is technology, you can do it, but it's just cost prohibitive, are the large transmission lines that move the power from the power plants to the substations, and then a lot of those feeder circuits. Now, under Superpower Mississippi, we are looking at where does it make sense to underground. It'll be a hybrid policy type. But there in some cases it's better off just to build more robust. You'll see a lot more fiberglass poles, steel poles, shorter spans, stumpier poles, fiberglass cross arms, more that are resilient to this. And in areas where it makes sense, we'll look at undergrounding or dips and things of that nature to avoid risk and things of that nature. But the big issue, Richard, is yes, it's
just so expensive.
It is 10 times more costly than what it is of that nature. But we are seeing better materials. We're seeing better design. We're starting to open that. Some of my worst outages, for example, right now in Mississippi are 30-year, 40-year-old underground systems where Yazoo clay is shifted and you're talking about multiple day outages trying to find the problem and stuff. So, but the technology is changing where we can find those, pinpoint those outages, and the materials and the conduit used has improved as well. But it's a mix, but it is a cost issue at the end of the day.
Not fair to throw this at you with only 60 seconds left, but I'm going to do it anyway. Nuclear power. Nuclear power plant.
I'm excited about that. I think we have a future. We're studying it. We're looking at it. No plans right now. We're seeking an early site permit renewal at Grand Gulf, and we're talking to vendors about possible technologies. I think nuclear power has a great future in our country.
What would a new nuclear power plant cost?
Too much right now, and that's the problem. An AP1000 is in excess of $30 billion for a 2,000 megawatt unit. The new SMR technologies have us, but they still have not been received license, or do we have the capability to manufacture those yet?
Is that the micro reactors?
Small modular reactors, yes. And so I'm hopeful, but cost is going to be the issue, and the government's going to have to find a way to help partner with us to get that started.
Haley Fisackerly, President, CEO, Entergy, Mississippi. I know we covered a lot of ground in a relatively short amount of time, but appreciate you as always coming in. Great visiting with you.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate you. Take care.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Charles Watson, Senior Vice President of Network Operations from Spire, will join us coming up next.
From the Seabrook.com. SuperTalk, Mississippi. Rise and shine with information and insight. Check it out. Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Appreciate Haley Fisackerly coming in and visiting with us this morning, the president and CEO at Entergy Mississippi. Charles Watson joins us now. He's the Senior Vice President of Network Operations at Spire. Charles, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So about a year ago, I had an opportunity to go on a nilgai hunt in South Texas. A nilgai is in the antelope family. Big, fast, moving, oversized deer, if you will. And you hunt them differently. You're in the back of a truck on like a raised shooting bench, and you drive around looking for them. And then when you spot one, you just start chasing them. First time I had ever been and had a chance to shoot one, but I did so while the truck was moving. And when we stopped, the guy that was with me, who's a veteran of this, he goes, "Hey, Richard, I need you to not do that again." I said, "Okay." He said, "One, it's not safe." He said, "And two, you're not good enough in a moving truck to shoot a moving nilgai. It's not going to happen." It feels like this forecast for this storm is a bit like trying to shoot something from a moving vehicle that's moving itself. It's like constantly moving. The forecast is shifting. That may have been a stretch of an analogy, but I'm curious what it's been like for the last few days as you've been studying forecast models and all the different things, trying to figure out what this winter weather event is going to do.
Oh man, look, I was just talking. I think I've learned more about Euro models and GFC models than I care to know about. It changes almost every other hour, and for sure it changes each day. It's funny you use that deer analogy. It's one thing when I was talking to the team the other day, and we have these daily calls in preparation up to once the weather gets up on us. But a lot of people, when you deer hunt, they think that the success is actually in the moment where you take that shot or you make that shot. But the real truth is that the real work happens with long before that. It's a lot of the planning, the reading the conditions, the getting up early, actually, being ready before anything happens. So that's a lot of what even these models are doing for me now. I think I have it under control here, and then the next hour or so it switches a little bit, and we have to go back to the drawing board. I got a map of the state of Mississippi, Texas, and Alabama, and it's just got crayon colors all over because that's how the forecast looks to me right now, just all over the place.
How has the last couple of days changed when it looked like, especially in North Mississippi, this might be a major snow event, and it has now shifted into what looks like it could be more of an ice event?
It hasn't. It hasn't really. We still follow that playbook. The biggest thing is being strategic about where you shift and move resources from that standpoint. But we still go through what we deem as our proactive readiness actions, like the generator checks, ensuring that we have the fuel logistics in place, That changes a little bit. To your point, we may have to shift to focus more on fuel in the north part of the state as opposed to the central part of the state.
What is the balance for you in the event of outages or damage caused by weather-related events? The balance of dealing with restoration of wireless services versus kind of the business side of all of the fiber that Spire has put in place, has going to businesses, has going to homes as well in terms of restoration of that service. Is one either a bigger priority or a bigger target, if that makes sense?
No, yeah. So really, if you think about it, the biggest risk when you're dealing with weather-related issues, particularly like this, is more so commercial power outages, just widespread commercial power outages. So it's not doesn't matter if it's wireless or if it's fiber. It's really tackling and making sure that we've done that test from having transferred from commercial power to battery to generator. So it's pretty much even kill from that perspective when you're dealing with something that we're looking at right now.
So power to your sites becomes priority number one, figuring out where you've got an outage and how quickly you can get either generator power or normal power to the site?
Yeah, so we have generators, battery backups on all of our sites.
Okay.
The biggest, there are some areas where just because of the structure that you really can't have a generator just not accommodated in that particular area. So the biggest thing there is making sure that there's good consolidated effort, with a lot of coordination between engineers, our NOC, to understand when that or if that particular area has an outage, then how do we mobilize portable generators and things like that to that area?
Gotcha. We're not immune. Immune is not the right word. This is not our first rodeo in terms of weather-related issues in Mississippi, whether it's tornadoes or hurricanes or winter storm events. Is there a particular winter weather situation that stands out in your mind? You've been with Spire and have been on the operations side for a long time. Is there one where it's like, if we can just avoid this happening again?
Man, I'll tell you, I say that about every last one of them. I think that no two storms are exactly the same. I think sometimes, even like we're looking at forecasts looks kind of similar, but the impacts on them are completely different. But I think we take everything serious, but there's not one thing that I can say, oh man, if we can get through, I said it about everything. If we can get through this, this will be just
it'll be okay,
great.
Man. Yeah.
It'll be okay. Because the most important about all that stuff is taking back the lessons learned from each event and just kind of building on that.
Yeah. We were talking with Haley Fisackerly about this just a moment ago. He said, one of the challenges is kind of staging and getting ready to respond, but you also have to recognize that you have to keep your crews safe as well. If you've got icy roads or whatever, is there a delay in your people at Spire being able to get out and do those checks, or is it just, hey, you got to be careful, but we got to go?
No, you're right. Safety is number one priority. We actually, it's interesting you said that. Like one of our checks that we talked through yesterday is particularly for this incident here, making sure we have chains on the tires, the torches and stuff like that, for if we had some locks that were frozen, that we can use those to get in the locks. But a lot of it is once you have daylight, we have those boots on the ground looking to see where and if possible, at all possible, where is it safe to start doing those recovery efforts? So it depends on, once you have those eyes on the ground and you look and say, okay, now we can go ahead and start restoration in this area versus this area.
Do you have an operations center that serves as almost like a war room where you and maybe some other members of your team are sitting there and you're able to in real time see where you have outages and how to deploy resources?
Yeah, so our network operations team, we have a NOC here, and very, very disciplined coordination that happens between that group, engineering, field operations, What they do is they monitor real time. Everything's monitored real time, and they're able to work together to coordinate. We have a bridge that's going on over, hey, we see this in this area, we see this in this area, and we have a running list of things. So we know, hey, where this particular site maybe wasn't capable of having a generator, so we are able to prioritize that from that perspective. But yeah, we have a 24/7, 365 knock that we're staged up in. As a matter of fact, we have 2 calls a day up until Friday, and then the bridge will be open, pretty much until the storm passes through. Yeah. And myself and a couple of team members will be in the knock, fully prepared.
Charles Watson, Senior Vice President, Network Operations at C Spire. Just a minute or so left. We've talked a lot about C Spire's reaction to an event, and obviously that's incredibly important. And you've talked about the preparation piece. What about for consumers, for C Spire customers, whether it's a fiber customer or a wireless customer? Is there anything that you're recommending for your customers in advance of this for them to be prepared?
Yeah, I think for customers, best advice is pretty simple. Just be prepared early. I think if charged devices, including battery packs, if you have a portable charger, or even if possible, a car charger. One key thing too is enabling voice over Wi-Fi on your device, and if it's available, that could be extremely helpful if you have issues with coverage. From that perspective, at least you'll be able to use the voice over Wi-Fi. And then the other thing I would say is use the low power mode for consumption of the battery. Dimming, use on apps and things of that nature.
Just trying to prolong the amount of juice you've got for as long as you can.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Charles, I appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for your insight. Stay safe, stay warm, and hopefully this is a storm that becomes all bark and very little bite.
I appreciate it. Thank you again. I appreciate you.
Great visiting with you. Thanks so much for your time. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Charles Watson. He is Senior VP for Network Operations. I got a message from one of his superiors during that conversation that said, now we have brought in the A-team. Charles, absolutely great at what he does. Wishing everybody the best as this potential winter storm approaches.
From the Venable Glass.
Go on, man. The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
To really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Last time with you on this Thursday morning. Appreciate all of our guests this morning. Haley Fisackerly from Entergy, Mississippi. Charles Watson from C Spire. And in the 7 o'clock hour, Philip Chamblee from the Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. We recognize, by the way, that there is a chance that all of the conversation about this winter storm is much ado about nothing. And if it turns out that that is the case, great. Hopefully the conversations that we've had, whether it is for this particular storm or another weather event in the future, you've learned something about the way that the first responders operate, that our technology companies operate, that our power companies operate, and maybe gives you a little bit more understanding. And the reminders on how to prepare for events like this are always important. But there is a better than coin flip chance that this is not much ado about nothing. The northern third of the state of Mississippi is under a winter storm watch through Monday. And the jokes write themselves sometimes. Roughly Highway 82 working west to east or east to west across the state is kind of the dividing line in terms of areas, counties that are affected in terms of the winter storm watch. Looking at the latest forecast models and I don't know if this is a Euro model or not. I am trusting James Spann right now over in Alabama. He has been holding off on putting out his impact forecast. But in some of the modeling that they're looking at, north central Mississippi, as looking at the potential for about half an inch of total ice accumulation through the duration of this event. The northern and central parts of the Delta, looking at somewhere between 0.6 and 0.7 of an inch of ice accumulation. It's going to be very, very cold. Absent the ice, the sleet, the snow, whatever you're looking at, it is still going to be a very cold later part of the weekend moving into the early part of next week. So even if you don't have ice or snow, you're going to be looking at freezing temperatures, and you need to make some of those basic preparations, covering your faucets, leaving your water dripping, making sure that your pets are taken care of. If you have outdoor pets, may want to make some arrangements to have them inside, whether that's in a laundry room for them to sleep for the night or curled up in the bed with you. Whatever that is, just make sure that they are taken care of. If you leave an outdoor water bowl for them, it could very well freeze over, so you may want to continue to keep an eye on that and make sure that they've got plenty of water. In terms of snow, it looks like it's going to be a nothing burger for the entire state of Mississippi. As this storm system has shifted a bit to the north, parts of central and west Tennessee, especially the southern parts, are looking at just kind of a trace of snow. You've got to get into kind of extreme northwest and north central Tennessee to even get into that 3, 4, 5 inches of snow. But the line between where there's just almost no snow and over a foot of snow may not be more than 50 or 75 miles. And so any sort of a variation or a shift or a temperature change that isn't exactly forecast or exactly expected could dramatically change the outcome. And the crazy thing about this system is it's going to affect the United States from parts of northern New Mexico all the way into the northeast and the eastern seaboard.
I want to throw a suggestion out here.
It's massive, Lance.
Instead of a nothing burger, can we use spam burger now as a substitute?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
As a matter of fact, we can. On so many levels, the answer to that is yes.
All right, good. That's a winner.
That's beautiful. And we're not even denigrating spam.
No, not at all.
Spam burger, maybe, but not spam itself. Thanks for being with us today. Did you see that it appears as if Barron Trump, the son of the president, saved a life? It's a crazy story. He was had a friend who he called to check up with, and this woman who said she was violently attacked by her ex-boyfriend told a London court that her friend Barron Trump unexpectedly saved her life after she managed to call him during the assault. He had tried to reach out to her a couple of times. She didn't answer. He called again. After answering the FaceTime call and witnessing the alleged assault, the 19-year-old son of President Trump reportedly contacted emergency operators, prompting the UK police to respond to the scene. This was back in early January of 2025, shortly after 2 a.m. local time. Scary story, but just by happenstance, Barron Trump, sensing the bad situation, called authorities or reached out to authorities. I guess he's got direct lines for that, and was able to get help there and take care of his friend. Interesting story. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning. Stay safe, stay warm. We'll talk to you soon. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.